Boston Bruins have made multiple moves today ahead of their doubleheader against the New Jersey Devils and Ottawa Senators. We're going to be talking about these moves and why the Boston Bruins have decided to make the most obvious mistake of the season. We're going to be talking about all of this here in this video. Now, before we get into it, however, we know that over 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel right now and you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins, and I am now back from my little tour, so I will be back to regularly scheduled programming. I do thank you guys for the little hiatus that I had a little while ago. But without any further ado, let's get into this video because we got to talk about these moves. The Bruins have made a move recalling Max Jones and Patrick Brown and have placed Mark Kastelic on the IR. Kastelic did not play in the third period yesterday against the San Jose Sharks. So another injury, unfortunately, to Mark Kastelic, and now this time being placed on the IR. Once again, this could be just a move that what I'm assuming would be just for the few next games, just to get him healed up. Likely wouldn't play at least one or if not both of the games in the doubleheader. Rather have someone healthy enough in there and be able to make those moves right now than before they head on to this couple big games that they need to play. But a lot of people have really been calling out these moves. Patrick Brown, Max Jones. Why are these the guys and not Georgii Merkulov and Fabian Lysell? The two guys that we've all been waiting for to be called up did not get called up with these two moves. Two open slots on this team, likely the 13th forward, as well as putting Max Jones in just to kind of replace that missing aspect that Mark Kastelic brings to the lineup. But this is going to be a very big point of conversation over the next few days, especially over these games against the Devils and Senators, to kind of see how things play out and what they could have changed and what could change if Fabian Lysell and Georgii Merkulov were in the lineup. And as you see here, I do have a few tweets coming from Scott McLaughlin, kind of reacting with a lot of folks to what we're all kind of thinking about. Why not Patrick Brown? Why Patrick Brown? Why not Merkulov? Why not Lysell to replace him? And Scott McLaughlin had this to say: the Bruins are 9-2-2 with Patrick Brown in the lineup, but over the last 2 seasons, only 13 games played. Captain of the Providence Bruins, and although this season doing all right, just under a point per game. I shouldn't say just under, a little bit under a point per game, but has really kept his own, held his own in the AHL. Definitely a good veteran guy to call up, and I would assume he'll be the 13th forward for these next few games, as I do have the lineup here when you're looking at it, and I will kind of cover what we're looking at right here in a little bit, but seeing Max Jones replace Mark Kastelic here, keeping the majority of the rest the same would be my guess, as long as everybody stays healthy and whatnot, but of course, you never know what happens, especially on the second side of a doubleheader. And having the 13th forward Patrick Brown is always just a nice help to have going into the doubleheader and a few big games after to make sure nobody gets hurt. And we know we've seen the instances this season where that has not been the case, where players have gotten hurt, and it definitely has sucked to see, and especially Mark Kastelic once again in this time. But the conversation of whether Merkulov or Lysell will be the next call-ups is still going to be asked just about every time the Bruins make a move. And whether or not it was this time, whether or not it's going to be next time, whether or not it's going to be the time after, there will always be questions of if it's the right move, if it's not any of those two. And this is what Scott McLaughlin asked when kind of asked the question about why now Merkulov. He said, it's a fair question. I'd have one of them up by now. That said, I view these recalls as separate things. Jones is up to bring some of what they missed from Kastelic out, and Brown is probably the 13th forward. They need a body with injuries back-to-back and an illness running through the room. So my guess would be this is exactly what Scott McLaughlin kind of said here, and this is what I've been really mentioning throughout this video, is that looking at these two moves, it's just something very short-term against the Senators, against the Devils, going for the 22nd, the 23rd, and then on the 25th, the Avalanche. They're going to have to make a few moves that are just going to be for the time being, especially with an illness in the room, a few injuries. You want to make the opportunity to call up Lysell and Merkulov in the right time. You want to make that a full-time decision. You want to make it so they're up there for a while, just not in a game. Now, I guess when you look at Lysell, they did that earlier, played him one game, sent him back down, but I do think that the next time we see either of those guys called up, it's going to be at least for 10 to 15 games. Really, that's the only thing I can really think about as to why they're not in the NHL yet at this level, and I very much hope that they are soon enough, and sooner rather than later as well, when the Bruins have a few games that they have a big opportunity to jump up in the Atlantic. We've seen the Canadiens win on Sunday, a few very good games from them, unfortunately, lately. And they're going to be passing us, if not already, and I believe they have passed us, actually, in the standing. So it's definitely one they're going to need to get, and two they're going to need to get, and then three they're going to have to win against the Avalanche to get a few bonus spots on this Atlantic Division matchups. But looking as well as what Patrick Brown, Georgii Merkulov, and Fabian Lysell have brought to the AHL team. Of course, we see Vinny Lettieri point per game. He is already at this level. Merkulov just under point per game with 33 points in 35 games. And third on the Providence Bruins, that's where you see Patrick Brown, 25 points in 37 games. As I mentioned, holding his own in that team, being a captain, the leadership, everything kind of just slots into being that role for the time being. And having him being called up for just these few games here is definitely the smart move. We've seen Riley Tufte early on in the season, has yet to be called back up. But that could be another move that the Bruins choose to kind of wait on, choose to see him as a few games assets rather than just being called up for a doubleheader. But when you look at Patrick Brown, Max Jones, those guys have that leadership, that veteran aspect that they can be here for a game or two and know their role rather than trying to prove it and stay there at that point. So overall, it isn't. I don't think it's the right move, but I do think it's the right move for this specific instant. I still think that even with this occasion, you kind of got to make room at this point for Lysell, Merkulov to be able to just sneak into this lineup and get somewhere where we need to see them be, and especially the young takeover this team has made already, and looking at the way that we've seen, not just Poitras, but wrong one there. Poitras, Vinny Lettieri, although Vinny Lettieri's not the youngest, but in the AHL kind of aspect, John Beecher, Justin Brazeau. The young guys are taking over this team, and I think it's a very, very big thing that we got to see and got to kind of accept going forward. And even on the defensive side of things, Parker Wotherspoon, not the youngest, but still a younger aspect of this team, Mason Lowry, all of these guys are ready to go, and it's really been proven the past few games over in the AHL, the NHL, all of them, they're ready to go, and they want to make this team the best it can possibly be, and we're yet to see that. So hopefully it does happen soon, as I mentioned, of course. Just a few little moves here to kind of get over through this doubleheader coming into Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll have to see what happens afterwards, depending on what Mark Kastelic is like. Once the injury bug leaves, the bug leaves the locker room. Hopefully that there's no illnesses or anything coming forward, but you never really know. So we do have one more screenshot here, and of course this is a very interesting one as well, kind of rounding everything off from Mark Diver. The Bruins have invested 2.5 seasons in Merkulov's development. In that time, he's put 158 points in 173 games in the AHL, including 21 goals on the power play. Not saying he's the answer to Boston's 30th in the NHL power play, but he's worth a look at. And this kind of comes in once again where we're looking at Merkulov, Lysell as long-term call-ups rather than just short-term 2-game, potentially 3-game assets. We want to see these guys in as soon as possible. I think that's a very good point to bring up when you're looking at this and when you're kind of putting this into perspective as well against the Senators and against the Devils. And then as the future goes on, if this power play continues to suck, and although even if this team may even have 1 or 2 more losses over the next couple days, I do think the time is now to call up Lysell and Merkulov. So let me know what you think about these moves, as well as let me know what you think about the decision to not call up Lysell and Merkulov and what their plan may be for the Boston Bruins. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. And I'm back now from vacation. We're going to have daily content once again, back in the Bruins news. But we got a lot of stuff coming. Trade deadline, some big games. The Bruins want to get back into this long win column, the long win streak. And the time is no better than the present. So like I said, let me know what you think. But that's all I got. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.